Hi, my name is Spencer, and mostly I'm going to be getting into a lot of traffic problems and some economy problems that I'm having with Cities Skylines 2. Even though the game is more than a year old, it came out in October of 2023, I believe, and it's now February 2025, and these problems still have not been alleviated. The first thing I want to talk about are the intersections, because the intersections do not work the way that real intersections work. The traffic is driving through and pedestrians are crossing at the same time. So that leads to the pedestrians holding up traffic all the time. I can't help but feel that many of the traffic problems at these intersections comes from poor intersection timing. Like there aren't proper cycles of pedestrians get to cross, the traffic doesn't move, and when the pedestrians are done, then traffic can start moving. That doesn't happen in this game. The lights turn green at an intersection and it's like a free for all. So we're looking at a different intersection here, and the traffic here is really bad. I mean, there are cars phasing into other cars here. Admittedly, it doesn't help that the parking garage is right next to this intersection, but I do end up moving that. But you can see that there are groups of pedestrians who are in the middle of the crosswalk while the traffic is trying to go through the intersection, so that cars are stopping in the middle of the intersection when they're trying to make a turn or go straight through or something like that. And this happens constantly. We still have the same intersection here, except I've decided to eliminate the parking garage right next to the intersection so that people aren't trying to go in and out of there so close. And I was hoping that that would alleviate some of the traffic problems. People aren't having to stop going in and out of there. And after the traffic clears, after moving that parking garage, it seems to help maybe a little bit because people aren't trying to make that turn in there, but you can see that traffic is still having to stop in the middle of the intersection waiting for pedestrians to cross. There are people trying to make a left turn and a right turn into the same road at the same time, which holds up traffic right here. And it just goes on and on like this at intersections. So the easiest way for me to illustrate this to you is to draw this out. Not that I think you don't understand, but it's just easier to visualize what I'm talking about when I'm actually drawing it in front of you. So what would usually happen with intersections is that you would have traffic maybe going this way and this way first. So what you do is you have a protected left turn this way, you have a protected left turn that way. That phase goes through, and then after that phase, you can then have still left turns, but you can also go straight across if you want to. And the same here, you can go left or you can go straight across. At the same time, you can add in right turns. Sometimes you can turn right on red, sometimes you can't. It just depends on what the intersection is like. But that's like the first phase, right? Then you can have the pedestrians cross the street in each direction. When the traffic is not going in any of these directions, that is the pedestrian crossing phase. They don't have to worry about traffic. They can just cross wherever, whichever direction they need to go. And then you repeat the same thing in the other directions where you have a protected left turn this way, a protected left turn that way. You can also throw in the right turns here as well. Oh, that's actually in the wrong lane. Sorry about that. You can also throw in the right turns in here for people to try to get in when they can. Again, it just depends on the intersection. And then after that, you have the left turns, you have the straights, left turns, straights, and again, you can throw in the right turns whenever people are able to. And then you go back to the pedestrians after that, right? Then the pedestrians can go after that in all these directions here. I know this is a mess, but that's the cycle: the pedestrians and then the traffic, and you have left turns, right turns, straight at different timings. You don't have an intersection where everybody's just like, I'll just go whenever I want in any direction. All the pedestrians are going everywhere. All the traffic is going everywhere. No one's following any sort of rules. It's just a free for all for the whole intersection. Oh God, that's not how that works. That's not how that works at all. But that's how it works in Cities Skylines 2. So moving on to a few more traffic things. When you click on these roads, you can kind of see the flow of traffic here, which is fine. But even if you set this road, for example, to have no left-hand turns, right? I don't want people trying to turn around here. It slows everything down, and it defeats the purpose of this exit originally, which is to have the traffic go this way towards the top of the screen and not make these left-hand turns. But when you click on this, it does not show that there are no left-hand turns. Now this comes up. I don't know what this straight line is for. Does that mean that some people still take left turns anyway? I don't know. But if you don't click on this, there should be something in this UI that will tell you, hey, for this road, no left turns, no right turns, no going straight. That's all I'd like to see is somewhere on here to indicate this, because I remember that before I had set this to no left turns. But if you haven't looked at this intersection in a while, you may not remember that you set this to no left-hand turns. And if you click on this, see, now this display is a little bit different. I don't know what those two popping up were for. But there's this larger one here, now there's this smaller one here, which would make me think that left turns are possible here, even though I came over here and I said, no left turns, do not turn left. And yet, if you watch for long enough, every once in a while, somebody will make a left turn anyway. Not all the time, which is good. Oh, there's one right there. You just made a left turn that I didn't want you to make. So the traffic is not following the rules that I set. It's also not displaying what I'd like it to display in the way that I want it displayed. Okay, and you know what? I've got one more thing about this. So there's all this traffic bunched up over here. And you know what's happening? This traffic is coming off, and then it's going over here, and a lot of it is making a U-turn. For some reason. I have no idea why. But everybody's coming over here, they're making U-turns, and then they're coming back down Grove Street, and then turning right onto Cherry Street, instead of simply taking this right here, this highway connection that goes straight over to this road, avoids going right and having to make a U-turn, and then they can be on their way to wherever it is that they're going. This is stupid. The traffic should not function this way. And this isn't every single car. I know not every single car is doing that, but there's a lineup of cars in the left lane here, and there's quite a few of them who are making U-turns. Why is this happening? Why is this a thing? Why will they not take this right here? And I know that this intersection is not perfect either. I want to rework a lot of this stuff and see how it runs. But just why? Why would it function like this? It doesn't make sense. The other thing about traffic is that the game will make traffic disappear. The cars will simply vanish into thin air. I don't know why this happens. I think maybe it's when cars have been sitting in traffic trying to get to where they're going for too long, and the game doesn't know what to do with that car or those cars anymore, so it just makes them vanish instead. I've seen this happen multiple times. Whole groups of cars disappear. And of course, now that I'm looking around the city and trying to find areas where traffic is bunched up at intersections or wherever, Of course, the game doesn't do it. Of course, in none of this footage that I'm showing did any of these cars disappear, because that's always how that works. When something is going wrong and you try to show it to somebody to prove to them that it's happening, of course, then it doesn't happen. Okay, so I'm going to prove to you now that this traffic AI makes no sense. I've chosen this minivan right here. Okay, so you are, let me just zoom out. You're on the thruway here. Ignore the sloppy layout. I didn't try to make this city nice looking. So you're here. You're trying to go to work here. Okay? You're going from here to here. Right? That van go. There it is. Okay, so that's where you're going. You live here. Okay? You live here, and you're trying to go over here. Tell me why you don't leave your house, come down the street this way, Butler Street, make a left, and go here. What you did instead was you decided to leave your house, probably turn here onto Thornton Street, go all the way up here, come over this way, get on the thruway, and come down here. And I'll probably do a voiceover for the rest of this, but I'm going to let the rest of this play. And we're going to see where the pathing takes this car. If this car even makes it to where it wants to go, this game tends to make traffic disappear. When it doesn't know what to do with a car, it just makes it disappear. You may even see it here on the thruway. It might make vehicles disappear. So I'm just going to let this play, and we'll cut to this car either arriving to where it's supposed to go or it disappears. Okay, so the car did in fact make it, but I'm gonna zoom out and show you a map and show you the path that this car took instead of the path that I think it should have taken. That would have made a lot more sense in terms of where that person lives and the distance and how many turns and roads that this car has to go down. So now we're going to take a look at the map, and I'll let the video play behind this so you can see what's happening. So the correct thing that this person should have done is take this street right here, take a left, and go to your destination. This is the correct way to go. Instead, what you did was you decided to go left and come all the way down here. Now, I actually didn't see this part. I'm just assuming that this is the way this person went. You went this way, onto the thruway, came up here, took this exit, got off the thruway, went over here, took a right-hand turn, went all the way down this street, and then took another right turn and went all the way over here to your destination. This is the wrong way to go to work when you live right here. And you might say, well, what if this is a one-way street? What if you can only go in this direction? It's not, but even if it was a one-way street, why would you not, for example, go out this way, turn here, go there, and down this way to your destination? None of these are one-way streets. You could go this way. Why would you not go either the green option or the yellow option? Why the fuck would you go all the way around here for no reason, taking this path, going the longest way possible? Why? I didn't want to do a jump cut into the next thing immediately, but that traffic pathing is horrendous. The next thing we're going to talk about are pedestrians and crosswalks, because those things need a lot of work. So in order to alleviate the traffic problems here at this intersection, I'm going to build the staircases to help try alleviate this, because this is a mod. This is not in the base game at all. So I'm just gonna build the stairs so that people can go up the stairs and cross the street that way rather than using the intersection. And we will see if they actually use these or not. I don't believe I have to make any settings for these. People should just use them. To make a long story short, because I end up rambling a lot here, some people do end up using these elevated stairs and crossing the street that way, but most of the people still use the crosswalks. They can't be bothered to go up the stairs. And later in this clip, when I remove the crosswalk option on the street level, most of the people don't cross the street, although there are still people that cross anyway. Seems like there's a few more people who use the stairs and cross above the intersection. But then a lot of people, I think, are simply walking to another intersection and deciding to cross there instead of here. So I think this is just moving the problem to some other intersection instead of this one. After this, I decided to give the pedestrians another option to cross over the street. Instead of using the spiral staircases, I make the ramps that Colossal Order wants me to make, because they, for some reason, only give you ramps, and they don't put stairs in the game. They wait for a mod to put in stairs, which I don't understand at all. There's a lot of people using the ramps, but you have to get rid of basically all of the buildings that are around this intersection. So you can't have any buildings anywhere near the intersection, and then pedestrians will cross using this elevated path. Actually, looking at this, it seems like a lot of people are just cutting the corner. They're not really using it to cross the streets. You can see at the top of the screen, there's a lot of people moving up there, but I think they're just cutting the corner instead of actually going over the street. After this, I tried to do this with curved pathways instead of straight pathways, hoping that I could try to get these pathways into a bit of a spiral and take up less space to make the pathways, but I don't think I saved any space. I think I just made the pathways curved instead of straight, because you still need about as much space to make these curves as you do a straight line. And this would be alleviated if Colossal Order would give you the option to add stairs, and then you don't have to have these huge curved or straight pathways that slowly slope down. Just give us stairs. I don't know why you seem to be allergic to adding stairs to the game. And absolutely no disrespect to the person who made that mod, but you should not have to do that. Colossal Order should have this in the game. It shouldn't be up to mods to do that. You would think for some of these things that Colossal Order would take lessons from the first game's huge modding scene and implement this stuff into the game, into the vanilla version of the game when it first came out, not over a year later, which, I mean, Colossal Order still hasn't themselves added stairs to the game, but you would think that at release they would have had a lot of these things already in the game, but no, they're still relying on modders to do their jobs for them. The next couple of things concern zones. I've noticed two things in this clip. First of all is this mesh that appears for residential, low-density residential buildings. It goes away eventually, but it just sits there for a while. But it's very strange, and there can be a bunch of houses with that. The other thing that I noticed in this clip that I need to show you this freeze frame because the video moves too fast, but the UK German, French, and Japanese building packs seem to have a lot of buildings that just don't render correctly. Like I'll put them down in the game, and then I saved the game, and then came back a day later, and this is what you're looking at, kind of in the center of the screen, is supposed to be a UK parish. And so it should be like a little church there with a cemetery in the back. But when I came back, it had disappeared and replaced by this gray box. I don't remember what that other one further up the street is. I think that might be a firehouse, but it just doesn't render correctly. It can either show that white box, or it will partially show the model, like it'll have a bunch of ground details and like the foundation of the building, but then the walls and the roof of the building are missing. So it's mostly, it looks like an empty lot. In addition to individual buildings like that disappearing and not rendering correctly, I've noticed that some of the building zones de-zone themselves. Like this over here is supposed to be Japanese low density residential. I built all that, saved the game, come back later, and all of it got de-zoned. This kept happening, and eventually I reached a point where I just stopped trying to build Japanese low density residential, and I don't remember what the other ones were that kept getting de-zoned. Some of them do, some of them don't. I was building French style residential buildings. Those were not a problem. I built some UK high density residential, and that wasn't a problem. So I don't know why some de-zone themselves and others don't. It's been a little bit, like a week or something, since I recorded this specific footage. Maybe there was an update to fix this. I don't know. I haven't bothered to try building this specific density residential again, because it kept getting de-zoned. So I don't know what the problem is there, but something is wrong. And we need to talk about tourism, because the tourism selection is extremely lacking. You can get some hotels that spawn in when you put down commercial areas, but you don't really have any control over that. And we didn't get any specifically hotel buildings until they added the UK, the French, and the German and the Japanese pack. Here you can, under the UK, you have a few different inns and hotels, so you can specifically put those down. But again, this wasn't added until later. There were no hotels here in the vanilla selection of buildings, even though all these buildings, including a gas station, increase tourist attractiveness. Why would you show up to a city just to go to the gas station? Like, why would you go on a vacation just to see a gas station? That makes no sense. And if you go to the tourism attractions, there's only 4. There's an observation tower, a statue, a water park, and a castle. That's it. That's all that there is. What about like I don't know, I'm again thinking of Tropico. What about like a scuba diving thing that you can put on the water? What about a theme park? What about, for example, wouldn't it be neat if you could put down sand along the coast and then designate that as a tourist area, and then you could go over to the beach that's now over there, and because you zoned it as a beach vacation area, it would start spawning in beach chairs and towels and umbrellas and stuff like that, and people would go to the beach and be like on the beach, and maybe people would be swimming in the water and stuff like that. Like, there's no robust tourist or tourism industry, and you're not given tools to make that happen. These are the only specifically tourism buildings. All these other stuff, it's it provides outdoor recreation, but like basketball courts exist everywhere. You don't go on vacation to go to a basketball court. The same with these parks and stuff like that. There's this one camping park which I mean, people go on vacations to go camping, but it's so lackluster tourism is in this game, and I really want to see something more robust. One more thing about well, not really economy related stuff, but city statistics. Okay, the graphs aren't labeled correctly, and what I mean by that is specifically they don't have a y-axis label. So this is happiness. You've got health and well-being. Time is on the x-axis. I'm guessing, but on the y-axis it is percentage of population or something, I guess. Happiness level. So it's well-being is at about, I don't know, I'd say 70 or 75%, maybe 70% here. But it's not labeled. I have to guess what it is. Same with anything else. Crime rate. I mean, it's flat. Apparently there's no crime in the city at all. But these are zeros and ones. What does this mean? What do these numbers mean? I don't know what it means. Education. I can assume that this is the number of people who are at these education levels. But again, the y-axis is not labeled. And technically, the x-axis isn't labeled either. Even though it gives you time, you can figure that out. February, March to July. That's time. But it should be labeled time. And this should be labeled number of people, population, whatever. Not population, but number of people. Some kind of label. There's collected mail, delivered mail. But it should be labeled over here. Why can't you just label the graphs correctly? I know this is like a minor thing, but it doesn't make any sense to me.